and started clapping his cheeks. Lewis was born in London to a good family. He grew up in a middle-class family with both parents, but as a child Lewis was a rebel. He used to do petty crimes for fun and giggles until one day one of his crimes went wrong and he ended up getting 15 years in prison. Lewis was a small guy at only 5'5" in height, so he knew he would need to watch his back in prison because other guys might try to take advantage of him and bully him. Lewis was going to a UK prison, so he thought he didn't have to worry about getting turned out in prison because he thought that stuff like that didn't happen in the UK and was pretty much only an American thing. Once in prison, Lewis got put in a cell with a guy called Tyrone. Tyrone was a 6-foot black guy doing 14 years in prison. Lewis knew something was different about this experience because after the guard closed the cell doors in the cell, Tyrone said to Lewis, "You are a beautiful supermodel." Lewis said, "What are you talking about? I am not a supermodel." Tyrone said, "Outside you are nothing, but in prison you are worth more than anything. White boys like you are worth more than food, worth more than water. In prison you are worth more than gold itself, so from today going forward you are my new girlfriend." Lewis said, "No way, I'm not gay." Tyrone said, "I'm not gay either, but this is prison, so bring your big booty over here and give me some chan. Tyrone was laying on the bottom bunk while Lewis was standing in the middle of the cell. Tyrone said, "Come over here and sit on my tings." Lewis said to Tyrone, "You don't have to do this. We are in the UK. Things like this don't happen." Tyrone started to laugh and said, "This is the story we sell to women like you. How else would we get you to come to prison? If you knew girls like you were getting turned out in prison, you wouldn't come." And in that moment Lewis knew he was in trouble because the cell door was closed and he had no way of getting out. Lewis said, "If you touch me I will scream." That's when Tyrone got up and said, "Now you have got me angry," and then backhanded Lewis across the face. Tyrone hit Lewis so hard that Lewis flew across the room and hit the wall. This was the first time in Lewis's life he saw this type of fear. Lewis was a small guy and had never been hit this hard before. Tyrone said to Lewis, "From this day going forward you are my woman. You only talk to me and you are not allowed to speak to any other prisoner. I speak on your behalf. Am I clear on this?" Lewis said, "Yes, sir. Now that I have made myself clear, going forward you are going to give up your booty cheeks anytime I want it. I don't care if you are sick or got a headache, you will give up your cheeks anytime, and if you're asleep I will just take your cheeks when you are sleeping. Now get on my bed and lay down and put your legs behind your head. I want to look at your pretty supermodel face when I'm blowing your back out." Lewis started to plead with Tyrone not to do this. Lewis offered Tyrone money. Lewis said, "My parents can pay you 20,000 by the end of the week. I will speak to my dad to send payment to you." Tyrone just laughed and said to Lewis, "You really just don't get it, do you? In jail you are a supermodel. Right now every single guy in the entire prison is waiting to get you alone so they can bend you over and bust your cheeks, and I have you in my cell right now all alone. This is like a winning lottery ticket for me. I have you all to myself. Non-stop cheeks busting. Your dad's money means nothing to me in prison. I would rather bust your cheeks instead because I know your cheeks will feel good, and after I cream pie you I will feel so much better. prison is hard, so busting women's cheeks like you helps me to take my mind off my long prison sentence." Lewis then said, "250,000. I will get my dad to pay you £250,000, wired to any bank account of your choice by tomorrow morning." Tyrone stopped and said, "Wow, that's a lot of money." Tyrone said, "With an offer like that I have to accept. Now let's shake on it." Lewis went to shake Tyrone's hand, and Tyrone grabbed him and backhanded Lewis and then threw him on the bed. Tyrone said to Lewis, "You think Daddy's money can pay you out of being turned out in prison? This is prison and money means nothing in here when it comes to booty. Money will buy you anything else but will never buy yourself out of getting your booty clapped." And that's when Tyrone put Lewis's legs behind his head and started clapping his cheeks. As Lewis was getting his cheeks clapped, he couldn't believe what was happening. Tyrone was pounding his cheeks and left a big load of cream pie in Lewis's booty. After Tyrone had finished, Lewis went up onto his top bunk bed crying as he struggled to put together what just happened. Lewis couldn't believe he just got turned out in prison. He thought to himself, "Why didn't anyone tell me this stuff happens in the UK?" Lewis just thought the only thing that happens in the UK are fights, but he never expected booty bandits. Lewis slept for the entire day and missed lunch and dinner. He was struggling to get into grips that he had just been turned out in prison. The next day the guards shout, "Breakfast! Breakfast!" as the cell doors opened. Lewis didn't want to go, but Tyrone insisted he went with him as his girlfriend. Tyrone said, "I can't leave you in the cell by yourself because another inmate will come in the cell and bust your cheeks while I'm gone. You are my woman and I can't have other inmates busting your cheeks too." During breakfast, Tyrone sat with the black guys and Lewis sat next to him. One of Tyrone's friends had another white boy sitting next to him. The other white boy had his head down the entire time. Lewis knew the other white boy had also been turned out by Tyrone's friend. After breakfast, Tyrone and Lewis went back to their cell. Once in the cell, Tyrone got on his bunk, took his trousers off and said, "Lewis, come over here and put my tings in your mouth. I won't ask twice." Lewis had no choice but to do it. Lewis noticed the smell of Tyrone's tings as he had not washed it off after clapping Lewis's cheeks, but Lewis just had to do it anyway as he didn't want to make Tyrone angry. After Lewis did it for 30 seconds, Tyrone said, "You are a natural, Lewis. That feels so good. Now you can sit on it until I cream pie you." Lewis sat on Tyrone's tings and bounced up and down until Tyrone cream pied him. Lewis could not believe this was going to be his new life for the next 15 years. Lewis thought to himself, "If only I had just been good, I wouldn't be in this situation right now," as tears came down his face.